USA! USA!
We have an action-packed hour for you 6 p.m. drivers.
Would I rather be feared or loved? Easy, both. I want people to be afraid of how much they love me.
Matt Skraby wraps up a full day of live and local sports talk.
And that is the whole problem with aliens. You just can't trust them. Occasionally you meet a nice one, but usually they turn out to be some kind of big lizard.
The Skraby Show starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
Hello and welcome everyone to the Skraby Show for October 14th, 2025. I am Matt Skraby. Thank you for joining me tonight. We got a lot to talk about. I actually really like Tuesday shows because Mondays we have Monday Night Football, so I don't have a Skraby Show, but I have lots to talk about usually on Tuesdays. And, you know, a big piece of news came down yesterday, and I was not expecting it to come down. That would be Mike Shildt retiring, and I am going to be talking about that. Also, I wanted to talk a little bit about a text I got over the weekend, and it's in regards to baseball and whether or not it's reflecting our society right now. And I promise I won't stumble over it when I get to that part, but I think it was an interesting comment, interesting thought. So I was going to bring it to all of you as well. And we're also going to talk a little bit about Penn State and them letting go James Franklin and them having to pay James Franklin over $50 million just to go home, basically, which I would love to be paid $50 million to go home. But I guess if you're James Franklin, it's kind of weird that you've been fired now and you have to put that on your resume and all that stuff. But $50 million to go away is absolutely ridiculous, I think. And then I have my Halloween movie, and I also have my daily gripe, which shouldn't surprise you, but it was me at a gas station. That's what my daily gripe is about. So right now, the Dodgers are leading the Brewers 2-1, top of the fourth. Freddie Peralta is still pitching for the Brewers. So let's hope that the Brewers can find some magic, because going down 2-0, heading back to LA, it's not going to be the easiest series for the Brewers if they do not win this game. I think that they most definitely are facing, the gauntlet right now. And it would have been nice if they won last night's game, but Blake Snell was just way too good. 10 Ks is pretty good. One hit is pretty good in 8 innings. That is some good work. And side note, Blake Snell, I still believe that he waits until the second half of the season to pitch so that he's ready to go for the playoffs, which I guess if you're going to pay him as a team, and that's fine, then you can do that. But I can't believe that each year he is injured at the beginning of the year and then he ends up coming back in the second part of the year and he's just a great pitcher. But that's besides the point. That is besides the point. If you want to watch the show, you can go to Facebook, 97.3 The Fan. You can also go to the 97.3 The Fan YouTube. We have a Skraby Show YouTube for all the Skrabinators, at The Skraby Show, youtube.com/@The Skraby Show. Also, Twitter, at Matt Skraby, and that is in Twitch, 97.3 The Fan. All right. Hello, Jeremy. He said, "What's up, Skraby?" If you want to, make comments towards the show, the chat, I think, is the best way to do that on YouTube, because it's easy for me to see, it's easy for me to get through, and all of that. All right, let's talk about it. Mike Shildt and his decision to retire. I saw the Dennis Lin Athletic article last night, and I thought it was really well done. He talked to Mike Shildt about everything. AJ Preller talked to the media today about everything. And I know that there are going to always be questions about there's always going to be questions about what is actually happening behind closed doors between managers and AJ Preller, because it seems like general managers don't get as many shots as they have as AJ Preller has with managers. I mean, he's coming up on 4. I know that Eric Hosmer said on Twitter 5, but I believe one of those was Pat Murphy. So he was an interim coach, or manager. But I know that there's going to be people always thinking there is something behind it. And I would first, these are just my thoughts. And so when you hear this and you're like, oh, you just covered for the team, I promise you, I'm not covering for the team. I've never covered for the team. I have had no direction to cover for the team, but there are some people who aren't ever going to believe there was no friction between AJ Preller and Mike Shildt. That's fine. I believe that there probably was normal wear and tear, normal friction between a manager and a GM, and Mike Shildt had some quotes that we can talk about in a little bit, but I'm going to bring you what I believe and give you what I think is the truth, because the people that I've been talking to about this whole thing, and it extends farther than just Tony, but these people have been around the team all year, and there are plenty of things that I talk to these people about throughout the year and off the air with Tony. And so I think I get a pretty good perspective from multiple different people who are in the know. And there are going to be lots of opinions on this because it's strange. It is. And I know that we all think we need to find some reason that Mike Shildt is leaving his job with 2 years left on the contract. That's the strange part. It doesn't seem like people do that these days. And it doesn't seem like people do that with 2 years left on the contract, because you're giving up that money. There is no buyout. There is no settlement. There is no compensation package, from what I understand about Mike Shildt leaving the team. There are always going to be people, and I've seen it out there. And Ken Rosenthal reporting, oh, there was friction between AJ Preller and Mike Shildt, and other shows across the country and town saying that there was friction between AJ Preller and Mike Shildt. I believe that there was some friction, but I don't believe there was enough to cause Mike Shildt to leave his job. And again, the thing that proves that to me is that Mike Shildt is not being compensated for the time remaining on his contract. But I get it, because when something is so out of place, it makes all of us think there is more to the story. And believe me, I love going down that road. I love going down that road. The more to the story alleyway or avenue. I love going down that road. But what I think Mike Shildt did is something that we may see more and more of over time. And my thoughts on this have changed over the years. I used to think this type of move by someone at the top was crazy. But as I've changed my thoughts, I actually think this is a good sign that mental health is starting to become a priority. And for someone who, like myself, who has in the past had terrible mental health, I really like what Mike Shildt is doing here, because he's prioritizing his mental health over prioritizing just trying to stick it out and be manly. I think that's the wrong move, is trying to push through everything and not listening to your body and not listening to yourself. And so, as someone, like I said, who struggled with my own mental health, I found this very refreshing, and it's a good sign to me. I think it's pretty brave, honestly, for Mike Shildt to give up the team when he's the manager of it. There is a good shot they go to the playoffs next year, and I don't, as much as people on Twitter want me to think this way, I don't think this is a reflection of the team itself. I don't think that Mike Shildt left because he didn't think this team was going to win anymore. I don't think that Mike Shildt left because he didn't like Manny Machado. He loved managing those guys, and I think all of us could say the same thing, that he really, truly did love managing these guys. And this job is really, really hard, being a manager. And I've said in the past, I don't know who would want to become a manager of a team, because it's so physically draining each and every year. And Mike Shildt stepping down has kind of opened my mind up to, how do these guys do year after year after year of just the same grind? I think that when Mike Shildt says that he was losing his hair and he was losing sleep and he wasn't feeling good, and as Trevor pointed out, he had a 5-month nagging dry cough. He said he was sick. So, I think that what he did is a reflection of how bad it actually was for him. I think that he probably felt it each and every day as the season was going along, just not feeling great. And it's something that is not a 24-hour a day job, but I think it's definitely like at least a 16-hour a day job, because you're basically, I don't even know if he's definitely not even getting 8 hours of sleep a night. But social media is a big part of this, I think. And social media is extremely draining for people, even if you aren't really looking at what's being said about you out there. You're going to see and hear things that slip through the cracks. And here's what he said in Dennis Lynn's article, Mike Shildt. This is what he said, quote, "The now former manager said that during the past season, he experienced, among other things, poor sleep, chest pains, hair loss, and in an age of pervasive sports gambling, even death threats from strangers," end quote. Now, I'm not going to compare myself to Mike Shildt or professional athletes in any way, but even in the little amount I have been exposed to shows me how crazy it must be on a bigger stage, because even I get hate-filled messages about how they hate my voice, or they think I'm stupid or something like that. And I can't even imagine what it's like on the stage of being a manager. And that can weigh on someone. It can weigh on someone when you think that you're doing a great job, and in turn, all the fans are just crushing you on social media for making one wrong decision. Like, I was thinking about this a lot, because Mike Shildt was getting destroyed for not using Ryan O'Hearn like about a month before the season ended, and he was getting crushed for that. And then about a month later, when they're in the playoffs and Ryan O'Hearn's in the lineup, now it's a problem because they have 3 lefties back to back to back. So those types of things, I think, are a little confusing for someone who maybe isn't on social media, like Mike Shilt's not on social media. I think it's a little confusing to have, the fan base complain about one thing, you give them what they want, and then on the other side, now that you've given them what they want, they don't want that anymore. And I think that's gonna, that can weigh on someone. But here's another quote from the Dennis Lynn article, and I think that Mike Shildt, he's always said that he listens to his mentors. And he said, quote, "I just looked up, and man, I'm 57 years old. You talk to Tony La Russa and Torey Lovullo and Jim Leland and Ron Washington and Bochy and Terry Francona, and it just starts to take a toll, man. Those guys have all had some real physical issues." And they have. All of those guys have had physical issues. Stress is real, people. And lots of stress without sleeping, without feeling great, having chest pains, losing your hair. That is why I think that Mike Shildt is telling the truth when he says he wanted to step down, because he was concerned about his health. And he went on to say in that Dennis Lynn article, quote, "I'm walking away from a great situation. I mean, nothing's perfect. It's not perfect, but I had a general manager who's passionate and cares and wants to win. And I can't ask for much more than that. I had a great pitching coach and a great hitting coach and a very strong staff and support staff. And most importantly, I had a great group of guys, a great group of players that are very talented." So for me, this is pretty cut and dry. And this is Mike Shildt telling the truth. And I appreciate him. I think I appreciate him for doing something outside of the norm, when most managers would probably push through the next 2 years of their contract, but he's paying attention. That's one of the things that when I was, in rehab and in AA, one of the things was pay attention to what your body's telling you. And so I think it's good that he's paying attention to what his body's telling him, but I don't think there's any funny business here. I don't think the main reason, now there could be tiffs. but I don't think the main reason that Mike Shildt left this team is because someone pushed him out. I don't. And again, I will say, look to the zero compensation that Mike Shildt is getting by leaving as your sign that this is the truth being told. Because if they were forcing him out, they would have to come to some sort of. If they were forcing him out, they would have to come to some sort of compensation package where he would be receiving pay. And I think that we would hear from that or hear about that if it was happening. Hamby is on the chat, the great Hambino. I think this year showed that even when Shildt made a correct decision, if the player did not execute, then Shildt would be questioned for it. I agree with you on that. I do agree with you on that. I'm sure, Trevor says, I'm sure AJ will give him any role he wants if he wants to come back to the organization. They did write that in the Dennis Lin article. He said he wants to completely distance himself from baseball for at least a year or two and see what happens on the other side. Max says, I think Shildt was just over the job and could see that retirement as North Carolina Beach House was the more attractive option. Could be true too. Maybe sitting on your porch watching the waves come in North Carolina is a lot less stressful than figuring out why your team is not hitting with runners in scoring position and having everybody yell at you, which is part of the job. And he knew that taking the job. He knew that criticism comes with being a manager of a Major League Baseball team. But in closing about Mike Shildt and his decision, I want to say that I think people should take note of this. And if you're in your own life and you're feeling burnt out or you're feeling like your life is just becoming too stressful, there is nothing wrong with taking a step back. I'm not saying that everybody can afford to retire, but there's nothing wrong with, letting your employer know, hey, I might need some time because I am tired and there are some mental health issues that I'm dealing with right now. I know that some people won't even say that, but I encourage people to listen to their body and listen to their brain. And that's exactly what Mike Shildt did here. But now they're looking for a new manager. And I have no idea. I've seen all the different lists of managers that people are throwing around. But I really honestly do not know what they're looking for in a manager here. And we will obviously be bringing all of this search to you. But AJ probably said it's going to start today, and they're going to start putting together a list of people that are qualified for the job and see who's interested, all that stuff. They have lots of options, so I'm not worried about that. But that's the next step in the Padres offseason is to really find a new manager for this team and someone that can jump in and just do the job. And I don't think that means... Ruben Niebla definitely has a good chance at this job, but I'm not sure that a first-year manager is what this team needs right now. Even if Ruben Niebla, really, really wanted the job, I don't know that with the window being what it is for the Padres and with the, all of the different contracts aging, I don't know we have time for someone to learn how to be a manager. And I'm sure that Ruben Niebla, he's very smart. He's been around baseball for a long time. So maybe I'm discounting the fact that he can do this and I just haven't really considered it. But as a first-year manager, I don't know. I don't know about that. All right, we're going to go to break. On the other side, we're going to talk about baseball. We're going to talk about a lot of serious stuff. We're going to talk about baseball and society, and is baseball reflecting our society? And you'll get that when we get back here on the Skraby Show on 97.3 The Fan.
You could think you found your dream home.
So we talked about something earlier on Quinn and Chris that is a little bit controversial, I guess. I didn't realize it at the time. But Chris brought up the fact that his wife, Lori, always asks him to bring in the outdoor furniture when it rains. And I said, basically, I'm not doing that. And people are telling me I will do that. And you know what? You're probably right. I will end up taking out the furniture or to bringing in the furniture or whatever it is, whenever I'm married, it's going to happen. I'm going to fall in line. That's just how I envision myself. But it is kind of funny because I can imagine Chris being very perturbed that he's having to bring all this stuff in when it's not even raining yet, which is kind of hilarious. I think I love it. I think I love it a little bit. It was better than his karma story of a kid running around a table and hitting himself in the head, and then Chris laughing at said kid, which if you didn't hear that, you can go back to 320 during Gwen and Chris. And if you haven't heard, Gwen and Chris started a YouTube, so you can go to youtube.com/@Gwen and Chris SD, Twitter and Instagram, Gwen and Chris. You can follow me at Matt Skraby, YouTube at The Skraby Show. All right. Dodgers up 2-1 still, bottom of the fifth. Man, these games go quick until the end. But this game is just, hour and 15 minutes, and it's in the bottom of the fifth already. But Yamamoto's still pitching. He's only thrown 50 pitches. So hopefully the Brewers can get something else going, because right now they have not been hitting. And it's very unfortunate for me, at least. Dodger fans, it's not. Padre fans, though, you know how I feel. It's very unfortunate that all of a sudden the Dodgers are finally playing like the team they were supposed to be all year. Very unfortunate. And yes, I'm a hater, but it was kind of nice seeing them struggle at points throughout the year. But right now they are looking good, and I don't like to say it. I do not like to say it. All right. Does the current world of baseball reflect our society? I was texted that by a friend. Shout out Trevor out there. He listens. And he texted this, and I thought it was a pretty good thought, because he was basically saying that baseball's current strategy is reflecting our short attention span kind of society that we live in now. And it's all about the home run. Home runs are what people want, what teams want, what players want. And they're the home run is a very instant gratification highlight type event. And that's what people are chasing in baseball. I'll fully admit, I love the home run. And as I was talking about that, Jake Bauers, I thought hit a home run, but he did not. He flew out to right. But I'll fully admit, I love the home run. We spent a whole year of Padres baseball talking about how they didn't hit enough home runs. But is bunt life just not effective anymore because the way of the game has changed? Is bunt life not effective because there are bigger, faster, stronger players, throws are better, and everything is better in the game right now in regards to skill and talent and all that? Because we saw a year of small ball, and small ball can work, but everything has to work together for small ball to work. And so now teams are trying to hit the home run all the time, because that's your best way to feast. You got two guys on, you hit a home run, that's 3 runs right there. Small ball, you're moving guys over, you're getting 1 run at a time mostly. Maybe you hit one in the gap, you get 2 runs. But I think in regards to like it not working because teams are bigger, faster, stronger, I don't know that can be fully used as to why bunt life doesn't work in baseball anymore. A good bunt now can work, but I'm just not sure that the entire philosophy of small ball works in this game anymore. And I'm going to go back to where does baseball reflect our society and our instant gratification society? Because, would anyone pay attention to baseball if the big play of the game was a bunt? No. Suicide squeeze? That's actually pretty exciting. So I could see people being excited about that, but that's only 1 run. We want more runs, which is me included. I wanted more 3-run home runs. The 3-run home run is way more exciting than a bunt. The solo shot is even more exciting than a bunt. So maybe in a way, baseball is moving towards the right thing as a sport rather than what the right thing on the field is. because we saw teams for years do the small ball thing, and we saw teams for years be successful doing the small ball thing. So, I mean, maybe the sport of baseball could survive in the public eye and grow as it has the last few years because the YouTube short and because of YouTube shorts that can easily show a home run in 20 seconds or less. If you want to do a highlight of small ball, you need to clip everything together and have the video be like 45 seconds. Like it or not. And as a guy who loves long form content, like it or not, that extra 25 seconds on a video is an eternity. It is. So in regards to, is baseball reflecting our society? I think it is. Because you want the big home run, magical play, and you want to be able to you want it to be quick, which is what a home run is. It's like 20 seconds to round the bases, maybe just a little bit more. But I found over the years of doing this job that I could put up the best 10-minute video Oscar-winning video, and I won't get as many views as a video that's only 30 seconds long. And I'm guilty of it. Swipe, 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 swipe. Like, I'm guilty of going through it too fast. And sometimes people try to show me clips on their phones and they're like 2 minutes long, and I'm getting antsy during the clip. So I do think that baseball as a sport is doing the right thing to grow, because the highlight of the home run is much more exciting than the highlight of the bunt. But I don't know that selling out for home runs always is a good strategy for the team. I was talking about bunt culture earlier. Bunt culture, mix them. Be somewhere in the middle. Be somewhere in the middle. I believe that you can have a hitting philosophy with someone in the middle. Or somewhere in the middle, I'm sorry. David says, I think we want more runs, yes, but it is all elite pitching. Pitching right now is at such elite levels in playoffs that small ball station to station is just not as easy in the playoffs. Okay. I understand that, and I agree with that. Also from David, I mean, I think Tatis said it in the Cubs series. Once you get 3 runs, it's like 8 runs in a regular season. It's just so hard to chip away at it to get 1 run. It is. So maybe it's a small ball can work during the regular season and it doesn't work during the playoffs because the pitching is so good. Brian says small ball and bunting is exciting to an avid baseball fan. However, to keep the sport growing and find new fans, it does have to be faster and have a home run slugfest. I mean, yeah, they did change the game a little bit. Not a little bit, a lot of bit to make the game faster. The pitch clock has revolutionized things. And I do agree that if small ball is executed to perfection and it's being executed on a regular basis, I can get behind small ball because it does work. You're just not scoring 3 runs at a time in one swing of the bat. You're more trying to chip away at the pitcher. And I'm seeing a lot of comments here saying, pitching is way too good now. Pitchers are more athletic than ever before. I agree with all of that. And I think that while pitchers are more athletic, if you bunt the ball and an athletic pitcher gets down to field it, I mean, and it's not, I'm trying to think of an old school pitcher. It's not Bartolo Colon trying to get off the mound. Like, it's much easier. It's a much easier play, and it's a much easier out for a team that's playing against a small ball team. Max says, I think people don't realize how much pitching has improved in the last decade. I can agree that people probably don't realize, but I also 100% agree that pitching has got so much better. I mean, guys are throwing over 100, no problem. They're locating. There is that whole thing about, overthrowing an arm and hurting yourself. Anyway, those are some of the thoughts from Trevor. Let me see if Trevor was listening so I can. Nope, Trevor wasn't listening. I'll have to tell him to listen. Oh, he said, never mind. I told him I was going to talk about it. He gave me that gif of like the guy with the yellow jacket going, all right. Anyway, that's what I was thinking about after Trevor texted me this weekend. And it makes sense that baseball strategy has changed and it has gone towards more of the instant gratification highlight type events rather than playing the game in a certain way like small ball. When we get back on the Skraby Show, one more segment. I got my Halloween movie. I got my daily gripe. I also have the reason why I can't stand college football anymore. That's next.
Ben and Wood.
Things are getting worse for the Brewers in Milwaukee. Max Muncy is touching home right now. He just hit a solo home run. Dodgers lead 3-1 in the top of the 6th. Ugh. This is not looking good for us Dodger quote-unquote haters. I was just watching the replay. Sal Frelick did the best he could. Could not get to it, so we will... And now Freddie Peralta is out of the game. So we'll see what happens here. Brewers need to do some work, though. They are not looking too great at the moment. All right. This is the Skraby Show. I am Matt Skraby. If you would like to follow me at Matt Skraby, or you can go and watch the YouTube show at the Skraby Show on YouTube. And you can find me each and every weeknight right here. Gwen and Chris also with a YouTube, so go find that as well. Gwen and Chris SD. College football. I used to be really into college football. This is kind of a weird fact I don't think I've ever said on the radio before, but growing up in 1994, Deion Sanders was on the 49ers and they won the Super Bowl. And I lived in the Bay Area at the time. I used to go to a bunch of games with my grandpa because he had season tickets. So 49er football is in my DNA. Deion Sanders was my favorite player of all time. So I immediately started loving Florida State. And growing up, I loved Florida State. I would pay attention to Florida State. I even wanted to go to Florida State. And then I realized it was in Tallahassee. But Florida State was my college football team growing up, and I loved it. I used to watch the Florida and Florida State game, the rivalry games. It was all good. It was all great. But, you know, as I gotten older, I kind of gotten out of the whole college football thing just because I stopped paying attention as much, and I just, you know, started going down a path of drinking, and we all know where that led me, and it was nowhere good. But this world of college football is not one that I like. It has nothing to do with the players. It kind of almost doesn't have anything to do with the coaches. A little bit with the coaches. Has everything to do with the administrators. Has everything to do with the conference presidents. Because it's all just a big money grab now. That's all it is. And James Franklin, former Penn State head coach, he was fired. And I've been reading a ton of things about this because I really want to find out if the reason was, hey, it was 3 games that they lost and their season is kind of over and they lost their starting quarterback. And so they were like, hey, time to start fresh and you know, run it back next year. It's not... The problem, I don't have any problem with them firing James Franklin. And after reading everything, it was much more than just the 3 games. But they're going to pay him over $50 million to go away. $50 million to go away. You're telling me you have enough money as a school to pay a guy nearly $50 million to go away rather than just eat one bad season? Because what this is doing now, I've seen some kids that were committed to Penn State have changed their mind now because they're going to have a new head coach. And I understand why a kid would not want to go to a school anymore because their head coach has been fired. They were recruited by that. They were recruited by that coach. And so they want to play for that coach. So I have no issues with players wanting to find a new school after this. But in a world where it's not easy to make money anywhere, except for if you're a sports league or team, Penn State has so much money that they can give a guy $50 million to get fired. That is insane to me. That is insane to me. Like, think about that. Half of $100 million is going to be paid to James Franklin because they're over him. Bad decisions like giving an extension to a guy and then fire him because he lost 3 games should bankrupt anyone. It would make these teams think a little bit more about what they're doing if they're handing someone $50 million to go home and fire him. In college football, this is why I'm not a fan of college football, the business. Because at least in the NFL, I could say, you know what? They're professionals. It's a professional thing. It's about making money. So I can understand that. Yes, college has changed, but stop calling it college sports if it's a business, which is what it is now. It's there to make other people money. Players are starting to make a little bit money. I think, I do think the players should be paid, but I don't think coaches should be paid as much as they are, and I definitely don't think they should have the buyouts that they do. And here's a little, thought on my end. Just make these teams their own little minor league teams, because we all know it's not about going to college anymore. We all know that, some of these guys are going to college to go to college, but a lot of these guys that have dreams of playing in the NFL or dreams of playing at a higher level, they're not going to college because they're going to college. They're going to college because they can make money and they can play football. And I see this happen all the time. Jimbo Fisher, I believe, was let go and paid $70 million to go away. $70 million or more from Texas A&M. That doesn't sit right with me. I know that I see on the chat that donors donate towards their team's their alma mater, their football team, basketball team, whatever it is they want to donate towards. Okay, fine. That money could be used for much better things than paying a guy to go away. I don't know. This really bothered me. This really, really, really bothered me, because no one should be paid. The team the school should have to really think if they want to give this guy the money that they're giving him before they do it, because it might, not put them in the red. But I think people are hearing what I'm trying to say. David, but if they are their own minor league teams, do we think they are going to be as big? Doesn't college bring them all the fans, all the alumni bases? I know so many NFL pro fans that don't watch college because it isn't as good as the pros, and they have no alma mater or school in the game. That's kind of like me. But doesn't college bring them the fans? I'm not saying this idea is totally crazy to make them minor league teams. I'm saying make them just make it professional. Make them minor league professional teams. And then they don't have to go to school. They can still wear the Ohio State logo. It's just a different entity for Ohio State. They can still be a school. I know this is never going to happen. But really, everything at the top is what is making college football hard for me to watch. And it's all the greed. It's all the greed at the top. There's a lot of greed these days. And college football is one of the biggest offenders of this greed. All right. I feel like I've complained a lot today, but that's okay. That's okay. It's kind of what I do. My daily gripe, I'm going to complain again, but I'm going to go with my Halloween movie. I watched a ton of Halloween movies over the weekend, and this movie is not necessarily scary. This movie is not necessarily good. This movie is not new. This movie is actually probably one of the lesser known movies from this director. Director is Wes Craven. I don't know why I announced his name like that. Wes Craven. He did Scream. He did Nightmare on Elm Street. He did a lot of stuff. Lots of scary movies. But I watched a movie I've never seen before, and it's called Wishmaster. And Wishmaster is a movie that was made in the late 90s, and it's about there was this evil demon that was buried long ago, Egyptian times, that he got caught in this thing. And so they were excavating and they found this jewel that contained this evil demon. And then he ended up escaping. And so he's trying to take over the world. And what he does is he can take the form of other humans. He could also, he could also do, what is that thing called? He could just grant wishes, is what I'm trying to say. Sorry to everybody on the chat. I think I had music playing in the background. But he could just grant wishes. And then once you grant the wish, then your soul belongs to him. But this was also one of those movies that came out right around the time that special effects were getting good. And so they have a lot of these special effects that like were probably really cool at the time. And it just looks weird. And it's an entertaining enough movie. It's just kind of stupid. And I really... There we go. Jay Ryan says monster is called a Jinn. That's what it was. A Jinn. So you've seen Wishmaster. But there you go. That's my Halloween movie, Wishmaster. It was good enough for me to bring it to the show. So if you want a lighthearted, not really that scary, kind of stupid horror movie, go for Wishmaster.
What's annoying Skraby today? Let's find out. It's time for the Daily Gripe.
All right, Daily Gripe. Wow. End of the show came really fast. The Daily Gripe is this, and it was at a gas station today. And I was heading inside because I think I've said this, I definitely said this on the air before. I like flavored gums while I'm driving because it helps me not to want to, it's like a fidget thing. Yeah, the fidget? Yeah. Anyway, so I go and I try to open the door and it was locked. And this is around like noon. And this is a gas station that's very heavily trafficked. So I was not the only person that was going towards the door to go get something in the gas station. The gas station was closed. And on the window, it said, "Out to lunch, be back at 1 p.m. And everybody is entitled to their lunch. Everybody is entitled to having an hour-long lunch if they work an 8-hour shift. But why are you taking a lunch in the middle of everybody else's lunch? That's when people come and spend money at the gas station. Like, what are we doing? And why does a gas station only have one employee? It's a big enough gas station to have 2 employees. Gas stations make good money. But why are they closing up shop in the middle of a weekday when everybody is going to be on their own lunches? I saw people trying to pay for gas. I saw people trying to, just go inside and get a snack or something. I saw people trying to buy a car wash. Come on. Don't close up during lunchtime. McKee says, I went to Costco practically on E and they were closed for testing at lunch. That's a good one, McKee. That's ridiculous. People do stuff on their lunch. All right, that's it for me. Thanks for listening to the Skraby Show. Back tomorrow, 97.3 The Fan.
Baseball is back